Hi, my name is Simone, and I'm the Zen Mommy. I help people with spiritual awakening and navigating your ascension. And today, I wanted to do a little vlog. I didn't have a particular topic, but I thought I'd do a little personal vlog check-in. Update myself. Update my subscribers, and try to connect more. Remember, I did that video that I needed to. I need to connect to people more, and I want to start doing that. I want to take steps. And so, talking about opening up about my life a little bit more, I'm going to do that. And, when I get a chance, I want to start getting on live more. And then I want to figure out something where we can do like some type of group discussions or something eventually down the line. But today, we're just gonna chat. So, how am I doing? I'm doing fine. I'm doing good. Way better than I was in the beginning of the year, and even way better than I was, a few weeks ago. um, so when I did the video last week, I did a video about psychic abilities and visions of the future and stuff. The reason why I did that video is because I was actually going through something in relation to that. So remember how I was talking about how I see time. I know this is uneven, but I kind of wanted my plants to show. So sorry, got myself thrown off track saying that. I wanted to talk about how. Okay, let me get back on track real quick. Okay, so about these abilities that have been manifesting for me. They have manifested a while, but they get more intense. Um, I've always I've always had abilities, but they weren't as I guess they weren't as evident. They weren't as strong. And so what happened was I told you guys about that ayahuasca experience where I had like experience of the near death experience, and I completely left this body in the earth plane, and I was fully me. I was fully who I am, but I was now me without the physical body. And I went to other dimensions and realms. And when I first came back, my psychic abilities was on fire. Like I came back and I was just in touch with everything. Like I remember I was sitting around talking to my daughter, and my daughter was was talking to her, and I started hearing a conversation of her and her boyfriend, and it wasn't it was something that it was something that okay, so I heard this conversation, and I knew that the conversation wasn't that positive and it was about me. And so I say to her, I said, is there something you're not telling me? And like I heard him talking to her. I heard what he was saying. And he was in another city over. He lived in another city over, a couple of cities over. And so I wasn't like really just overhearing the conversation. I was hearing conversations. And so I asked her, so I'm thinking, am I losing my mind? Am I really hearing something? So I go to her and I say, look, do you have something to tell me? I'm hearing you in his conversation. And I was like, I know that I had told her I took ayahuasca. She knew about, the spiritual journey. She was awakening to these things too. So she understood, about psychic abilities and stuff like that. And she said, well, yeah, I do got to talk to you and I got to tell you what's been going on. So she told me what was going on, and it definitely confirmed that my abilities were heightened since I had that experience. And another thing that happened when I had that experience is I remember I was watching a TV show when I was in South Carolina. I was bored, and I was watching this TV show called The Flash, and it's some superhero show about this guy who runs really fast. Well, while I was watching the show, I I was seeing what was going to happen before the episode released it. Before the episode, like I saw the images. I knew the whole show. I knew it. And I started to think, did I watch this before? Was I asleep and somebody was playing it around me? I couldn't figure out. And I started to look, how long ago did this show, how long was this out? And I had saw that those seasons were just released to the public. And there was no way in the world that I should have known what was going to happen with each thing. And so that my abilities, I started to see that I had these heightened abilities. And it was like, it was weird. It was like in I was living in deja vu at every moment of my life. I started to remember everything like I've been here before. There wasn't a conversation I had. There wasn't a friend I talked to. There wasn't an outfit they had on that I knew, that I seen everything. I was just living in that moment where and so that kind of calmed down after a while. The other thing that happened with me is I started to see all of the timelines. Now I wasn't seeing multiple timelines before, not the way I see them now. And so I started to see so many timelines that I got really ungrounded, like right after doing that. I got so ungrounded because now it was like I was mentally in other dimensions. Like I was seeing all this stuff, I was interacting with it, and I would sit here like, and I would be spaced out to a normal person, but to me, I was not spaced out. My spirit was off on these timelines, taking a look, seeing what's going to happen in this possible future, that possible future. And so I had went through a process realizing that, okay, I'm going to need grounding. Like, sometimes, after taking ayahuasca and having the experience that I had going out, seeing, having, when I was out of body, I completely merged with my higher self. Like I completely went from this version of Simone to that version of Simone. That is done with this, that is in a higher vibration, doesn't have the lower vibrations weighting me down. And also I had access to my memories of everything, of the memories I had before I came here and had my memories wiped. And so I had access to knowledge. I had access to dimensions. I had access. And so the thing is, with our spirits, when we're not in this body, like for this experience, we have shrunk down into this little experience. But our spirit, our true, our higher self, us, the real us, is this massive energy that can spread out through every possibility and every timeline and live them all at the same time. And I had moments when I was out of body where I was living in multiple lives and I was conscious of each one. And I was coexisting with all these versions of myself, and my mind could handle it. But in this body, in this creation, my mind cannot handle that. It can't handle that. I can't remember all the details. I have to think really hard to remember even that experience. It's something about us that makes us forget here in this creation. I get it though, because let me tell you something. Knowing all that we know and who we are and everything, it makes it almost impossible to live this life. It's so slow, it's so heavy, and all these things happen. And sometimes you're like, you look at the way the world is, and you're like, what is the point of doing it? Why are we working so hard when we're gods and we can have anything we want, right? So there's, of course, a bigger picture, we wanted to experience the limitations here because our spiritual beings, we have no limitation. And so coming into here, I started seeing these timelines, okay? And I was seeing possibilities. And I think it really started when I met Dorian. It was like he came at the perfect time, my husband, my soulmate, someone that we've had many past lives together. Um, and we meet, and the first thing I saw was our timeline together. I saw us married. I saw us hugging. I saw different moments of us together. And I saw this, and I was just like, wow, Sometimes when I see the timeline, it's almost like I lived it. And so I would see that timeline, and then it just got to the point where I would see multiple. I would see, like, I'll have a conversation with him, or even my son Storm, right? And in that conversation, all of a sudden, for example, 4 or 5 timelines will appear. And I'll see if I respond to him with this answer, this is how he is going to respond. And this is going to either make him mad or make him happy. So I would see every I would see all the options available to me of how I could respond to an answer or a question, and then I would see how that person would respond. And then I would see if it would make them happy or sad, or if it would cause us problems in the end, or if it'll make him upset at first, but then he'll realize later that it was the right thing. And so in my mind is calculating all of these timelines. It's been doing this for a while now. I'm having with Storm, we do our little toothbrushing ritual, and I look at him and he's eats his toothpaste or whatever, and he's like, "Mommy, I want more." And I'm looking at him and I see a few answers. I can tell him, "No, you're not getting any more. Here's some more. Stop, stop eating the toothpaste." And then I see him getting upset at one, getting happy that I helped him do it. And so I started to realize, like I saw this the other night, I started to realize that I can sit here and be off in these timelines all day, because I know when that happens, I pause for a moment and think about, like, what am I going to do? And so it's been a struggle for me, to deal with those timelines. And so the thing is, also, I get emotionally involved with timelines. That's another thing. If I see a potential argument with someone and it hasn't even happened there, it hasn't even went yet, I begin to get emotionally involved at the future pain that I see that timeline headed to. And before I even got on the timeline, I'm connected to the energy and the pain of it. And that starts to cause problems for me in my life. But see, I didn't realize what I was doing when I was seeing these timelines come available. I was when I see them, when I'm imagining them, when I see these possible timelines, there's a bluebird right there, and he's making a lot of noise, and I don't know why. So when I see these timelines, hold on for a second. Sorry about that. Where was we at? So when I hold on, the bird then distracted me. Maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this video. Hold on, I gotta pause. I gotta think now. Okay, so I realized what happened is when I see a timeline, when I see a possibility of a negative timeline, like for example, this is one thing that's been holding me back on my journey. I'll see timelines of making a YouTube video, right? I'll sit here and I'll map out, I'll see the timeline. Oh, if I talk about this subject, I get an inspiration. This subject, do a video on this, right? And then I see me doing this subject and it leading to more. And I see my channel growing. I see my spiritual growth and helping people. And then I see the timeline. If I'm just lazy and do nothing today and just relax and have a good time, I see that timeline going almost to the verge of not creating videos anymore. And I see that timeline, and then I fear the timeline of getting lazy and not doing videos, right? So I started to realize recently that looking at the negative timelines, the timelines that I don't want to travel, actually puts me on the timeline. Looking at it and then fearing it. Okay, so we talk about law of attraction. The more that you don't want something, it aligns you to that timeline, because your energy is so strongly saying, I don't want this, that the universe is reading the vibration of your don't want, your lack of wanting. That lower vibration is aligning you to want that timeline. So I started to notice the more I wanted to do videos, the more I wasn't doing the videos. I was getting lazy because I was off jumping on the timelines like that. I don't know if this conversation is going to make sense to you guys, but it's been a big deal for me in my journey, because I just realized that a lot of my problems in manifesting things is because I've been visiting timelines that I don't want. Just like with us as a whole, if we're visiting timelines where there's a police state, forced vaccinations, microchips going in us, worrying about it and stuff, It's going to put you on a timeline just to worry about it, just to look, oh God, that's horrible. That puts you on it because now you're projecting energy towards it. You're basically saying this timeline exists. I don't want to be on it, meaning I do want to be on it to the universe, right? And so as I started to realize that a lot of my problems was coming from that, problems that I would have, with my work, with my manifesting, at home, in my relationships, if I'm visiting the worst case possibility that can happen with us, then I'm fearing it and I'm putting myself. So, with that being said, I started to watch the last couple of weeks how much I'm creating, how much I'm thinking about the opposite. And so I'm realizing that the more that I worry about these things, they happen. So now, see, the thing is, when we are ascending to 5D, when we are back to, or if we go back to who we were before this, we were gods that created. And the thing is, in order to create that way, right now we're in a limited perspective, and we have we have lower vibrational thoughts. So if we were in completely in God consciousness, thinking stuff like, oh, like just say all of a sudden, I imagine an earthquake, the earth quakes and the earth opens up and swallows my house in. Okay, as a creator God, that's something that's gonna happen. So that's something that I'm learning on this ascension journey is I have to learn how to control my thoughts. I have to learn how to control what I'm focused on, what I'm dwelling on. What do I want to see, right? And so looking at it lately, like being aware of my thoughts, I started to notice more than often, I always look at the negative possibilities. And so now the shift I'm making now is looking at what I do want. What do I want to manifest? I want to really manifest, a YouTube channel where I can really help people, that it can grow, that my knowledge can grow, that I can give this message and I can really raise the vibration of humanity. I mean, I want to manifest my apothecary business. I want to hold retreats. And also another thing we've been working on manifesting is my husband joining the YouTube channel and being a part of the channel and doing videos with me or by himself. He wants to help the divine masculine energy, and I want to help the divine feminine energy. And together, we want to help people with conscious couples and conscious relationships. And so these are things that I want to focus on. But if I start thinking about, oh, what if I quit Zen Mommy? What would my life be like? That's putting me on a timeline there. And so it's not easy, right? To do something that I've been doing unconsciously all along. I now have to learn how to control it. And if I want to shift to 5D or any other dimension where I'm instantly manifesting and creating my reality, I can't be thinking about the worst case scenario, or a lot of drama and a lot of BS will keep attracting into my life. And so that's something that I've been dealing with because I started to realize a lot of my personal issues and problems are really revolving around me visiting and looking into the future of these timelines. And I thought I would share that message today. I see that my son just woke up. He's going to walk out here in a minute, and he's over there trying to hide from me. But I just wanted to share that if you ever, you get to a point where you completely awaken your psychic abilities, or, you do ayahuasca. Ayahuasca definitely opens a lot of abilities. You know, it you have to go in it knowing that with there's a responsibility to these abilities, that you have to be able to learn how to use them. You have to learn how to not focus on what you might see that's negative, or or and always make sure to ground. That's the one thing I really learned that was important. I really feel like getting into a relationship, getting married, my battery's about to die, is really what grounded me and back from being all up here in the higher chakras. It helped ground me into this life, start getting married, building a life with Dorian, having a family, and everything that we're trying to do. even planting nature, just being involved in the physical life here is something that will help ground us, ground our root chakras. And thank you for watching. Peace and love. Namaste.